I'm here at the Marshall Arena in Milton Keynes at the Matchroom.Live English Open, looking ahead to today's quarterfinals with top journalist Hector Nuns. And what a day we've got coming up, Hector.
Yeah, it's a fantastic quarter-final lineup, as these home nations series so often deliver and produce. We've got big names. I think 5 of the world's top 7 involved. 3 perhaps slightly more unexpected names. We'll get onto those names, I'm sure, in a minute. But yeah, it's all to look forward to. And so often we say with these best of 7s, they're perhaps a bit of a lottery, but they're equally so often we see the big names coming through, and that's happened again this week.
Absolutely. Now, we start the day with Mark Selby against Zhou Yulong. We know everything about Mark Selby, Triple Crown winner. He won the European Masters here just last month. But Zhou Yulong's a dark horse. 2 ranking event finals last year. He's a former World Cup winner. This is a proper match, isn't it? Yeah,
no, it's an intriguing match to get it all underway. I mean, Mark Selby, you say we do know all about him, but he had that sort of wobble for 18 months or so, and by his own admission lost a lot of self-confidence. I think we all found it impossible to believe that someone who's so granite, as him, who'd won what he'd won, and the way he'd come through so many deciding frames in big tournaments, it was almost impossible to sort of understand how he could have lost a bit of self-confidence. But he had, since working with Chris Henry. I think he's come out of that. There's no question about it. I think last year, obviously, won a couple of titles. He played exceptionally well at the World Championship. I'm sure, well, we know he was very disappointed to lose that epic semi-final to Ronnie O'Sullivan. You could see he looked, to all intents and purposes, he looked back. And that's carried on this season. He's won matches this week that he really shouldn't have. Obviously won that first title of the season, the European Masters, and he's looking in great form. And as for Zhou Yulong, look, we're all expecting him to win a title, aren't we? He's been to a couple of finals. He's still only 22. It's easy to forget that. It seems like he's been around for years, and with his wild cards and stuff in the China tournaments, I suppose he has. But look, everyone's expecting him to win a title at some point. I'm not sure it'll be this week, but it will be soon.
Do you see Zhou Yulong as a player who could come through and take Ding's crown as China's #1?
Well, I think there's quite a few Chinese players who are targeting that, and he's certainly one of them. I think quite a few of the top players were asked 2 or 3 years ago, who do you think out of perhaps Zhou Yulong, Zhao Xintong, Wan Sijun, some of the others, who will be the one? And he was often one that sort of cropped up. I think I remember talking to Graham Dott once after he'd sort of been watching, keeping quite a close eye on him, and he said he thought Zhou Yulong would be the one. He's ranked in the 20s in the world. I mean, to be solidly in the top sort of 25 in the world at the age of 22, you've got something. He's clearly a very, very good player. Maybe just needs that big breakthrough moment, and I doubt it will be long.
And then after that, of course, we've got John Higgins, the elder statesman now, really, of the game, I suppose we could call John, but still with a lot of talent and ability to burn, against Jack Jones, a young player who's coming through. Very, very exciting talent. Yeah,
that's another fascinating match. I think John Higgins, for those of us who've been around this week, he seems in a really good place this week. Seems very relaxed. He's playing some good stuff. I know he's been sort of doing a bit of work with his sort of cue and his sort of ferrule and stuff, and he seems in good nick. Hasn't won a ranking title for 2.5 years, to a lot of people that's perhaps a bit of a surprise. But you can certainly see him winning one this year. He does seem in good shape. He's going to be a big favourite to beat Jack Jones. He's obviously ranked over 100 in the world. So on paper, that looks a good tie for Higgins. And for Jack Jones, he's got to look at it the other way. He's somebody who's fallen off tour a couple of times, so he's paid his dues. He's a good young player. He's played some really good stuff, beaten some good players this week. Matthew Stevens last night was a great win. I think Jack Lisowski as well. So, he's had some good wins. And what you have to do as a Jack Jones in this situation is you've earned yourself the opportunity to really do something. And sooner or later, if you don't want to be sort of perhaps one of the blokes who turns out at the tournament and loses to a good player, you've got to take one of these chances. So he'll be looking at that as a huge opportunity.
Yeah, very interesting match. And then moving on to this evening, over on table number 2, we've got Neil Robertson, the Thunder from Down Under. We know all about Neil, against Robbie Williams, who's a bit of a surprise package here, although he has been playing very well recently. Yeah,
I mean, just coming to Robbie Williams first on that one. I mean, he's been on tour for what, sort of 7 or 8 years now. I think it really hurt him last year when he finished 65th, and even though he managed to stay on via the 1 year route, I think he's spoken this week about, I think it was hurt his pride a bit really that he finished outside the top 64. He doesn't see himself as a player who should be finishing outside the top 64, and he's gone away and worked incredibly hard and had a really good week. So again, opportunity for him. He's been to a semi-final before, but not for a few years. I think that was back in India 2013. So he's got a chance to equal that, and this would be bigger if he did it because it's a bigger tournament. And then of course Neil Robertson, who perhaps was a little bit overshadowed last season. He had a brilliant season himself last season, but for Judd Trump's sort of record-breaking feats and obviously Ronnie O'Sullivan winning the World Championship, I think he probably would have got a bit more praise than he did, because he played very, very well and is, you know, solidly part of that sort of big four in the rankings of sort of Judd, Ronnie himself and Mark Selby. So, yeah, listen, I thought Neil Robertson looked in good nick against Barry Hawkins yesterday. I thought he was looking pretty good. So, again, he'll be favourite for that one, but it's an opportunity for his opponent.
And then here on this table this evening, we've got a real potential barnstormer. You've got the world #1 Judd Trump against the warrior Kyron Wilson. These two have had some real battles over the years, and expecting another one tonight, Hector?
Yeah, very much so. No, as you say, I mean, look, a couple of years ago, I think there was quite a lot of edge there. Two sort of, you know, English players who are, you know, the next generation. We're going to be taking it forward for 10 years, and there were a few little comments either way about whether it was the sort of playing style or what they'd won or what they hadn't won. I think they're a bit more pally these days, so that edge of it has come off. But in terms of a playing rivalry, it's fierce. I mean, obviously they had that sort of titanic World Championship Crucible sort of match earlier this year, which was won by Kyron Wilson. A bit of a shock result there. Judd has taken sort of some small revenge by beating him in the European Masters already this year. Another opportunity now. Judd Trump will unquestionably be the favourite for that match, but I don't think anyone would be that surprised if Kyron sort of stepped up to the plate again. That should be a really cracking match to watch. Prediction
time then, who wins? Judd Trump, Kyron Wilson?
Judd Trump is a worthy favourite, but I think I might just go for the outsider on this one. I think I might see Kyron coming through that one.
Interesting. Thanks for that, Hector. We are live on Eurosport and Quest this afternoon off from 11:45, and then this evening we'll be live on Eurosport from 6:45, and Table 2 will be on the Eurosport app. Where you don't have a broadcast, you can watch live on Matchroom Live. Wherever you're watching it, enjoy the day's snooker.